in Nigeria. So basically, we have been able to reach out to over 300,000 farmers, but we currently have 100,000 farmers who are active users of our services. And using the human-centered design approach, we normally develop and disseminate agricultural advisory messages to farmers. These messages are tailored to suit the farmer's context and the farmer's needs. And we have been able to do this to over 10 value chains. We have performed a series of feedback and impact analysis surveys to better understand the farmer's need and examine ways in which we can improve our services. You know, one of the interesting facts we found out that married women were not so willing to use our services because it was being recorded in male voices. And like I said, our content is tailored to the farmer state. So once we realized that, we did an A/B test to understand the effect of narrator's gender on the farmers' engagement with our services. And by doing that, we found out that female narrators had a higher engagement with the farmers than male narrators. So we switched the content from the male narrator's voice to female narrator's voice, which significantly improved the farmers' interaction with our services. So we've done a number of surveys, we've done a number of feedback, we've done a number of baseline and endline survey, and we see that the intervention actually helped farmers to improve their livelihood and get higher production outputs in the following seasons. Thank you so much. I will just stop here for now and introduce Daniela, who is the team lead for the Agricultural Finance Consulting. Thank you so much. Daniela, it's over to you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Crystal. Thank you for having me.
Thank
today.
you.
Okay, I think now you can see me. I'm not used to Zoom anymore because we use MS Teams more, but it's nice to have you all here in this session. It's a privilege that I'm able to share a few lessons with you and your team. So thank you very much for this opportunity. I have worked in Nigeria now for close to 5 years, always in financial sector development, working across various states. I'm based in Abuja, but we have a regional structure too in Kebbi, Kano, Plateau, and then Southwest. So I've seen a little bit, not even half of the country, but you know, it's a huge. It's different from my previous projects. I was also in Ghana for a long time, and I still very much enjoy being in Nigeria because there's so much diversity, and every day something new is coming up and we are meeting new people. So something is always happening. So I like that. The focus of our session today is International Women's Day, and the topic is Break the Bias. So what I would like to do is just to share a few personal lessons that I have gathered along the way as I've worked in, let's say, in West Africa for 10 years, but then also myself being someone who went up from a junior position to a senior position to a management and team lead position. And also the sector itself is, at least financial sector, is quite, you don't always find many women, yeah? Depending on where you work, especially in the higher level. So I think there are just some lessons to share, and I would like to share 3 of them. And the first one is really about economic empowerment and equal representation. Yeah. So all the statistics are there. I think we know them very well, but at the end of the day, it's giving opportunities to women in all areas. That's among decision makers, in business, in private sector, in public sector, in universities, in the media, the lawmakers. Is when we have this equal representation, things would change majorly. Yeah? So it's not only about individuals making a change, breaking the bias, but it's about structural change that we need to achieve. And even if this doesn't work at the first attempt, you know, you have to keep going, you have to keep going until it's there. We already see some examples in certain areas, in certain jurisdictions and geographies, but is to achieve this on a large scale in every organization, and everyone will benefit. So women's freedom really comes through economic independence. And I think all professional women can attest to this, is once you are economically independent, the way you take decisions, the decisions you take, the way you communicate and negotiate both in your professional as well as your private life changes. Yeah? There comes a lot of awareness, also learning. Communication, very important, but the foundation for all of this is economic self-reliance. So just as your organization is working towards this, we are also working towards that. So when you have economic independence, you can negotiate. Yeah? You have choices. And at the end of the day, the whole thing is a process. It's not something that happens from one day to the next. It's a process, but once you have negotiating power, you can negotiate better. And you can also make decisions in this process. So one example from the work we do is financial literacy training for women processors in various value chains and also for farmers, both in northern Nigeria and in the southwest. Women open accounts, those that were formerly financially excluded, not having BVNs, they now register with BVN, they open accounts, they access finance through our partner banks. So as GIZ and as a project, we do not provide funding directly, even though I wish I also had kind of that opportunity, that tool in my toolbox to, to amplify the work we do. But we work with partners and they also see the relevance of what we do. So they have provided financing for processors to expand their activities. And it's just amazing to see some of the impact stories that come out of this. I know some, depending on the level where you are in an organization, some might be looking at the numbers, but already changing a few individuals' lives is just amazing. Yeah? So I think currently we are at above 500 women who are accessing this product in northern Nigeria. One example was that one of the rice processors, small-scale processors, she's now employing additionally 5 women. So creating working opportunities for others. As she is being lifted up, she is also lifting up others. Is really such a strong message. And of course, she also provides to the livelihood of the family, nutritional levels for the children improve. She's able to send the children to school. And you can already see what this will do for the next generation. Yeah? So maybe just a small drop, but something that has really big value for the individuals involved. The second message is, how do we get there? Yeah? So how do we achieve this equal representation? And it's really a team effort. Yeah? So women have to work together, and women and men have to work together. Yeah? So just like in private life, in professional life, it's a team effort. Yeah? So we are on this journey together with others. And again, depending on the position where you are and what you're doing, just make sure that women are part of it. Yeah? So, for example, in my role, when I started in this team lead position, women were not really part of the technical team. And I've met other organizations where we don't see women so much in the technical team. This has changed now. Also, when we go out and do trainings, we always try to ensure it's a mixed team. We have a male and a female trainer, so that you already have this kind of diversity directly reaching out to the, we can call them beneficiaries or those participants who are being trained. And of course, there's already interaction, yeah? And it just changes the dynamics. It changes how we communicate, what is being discussed, what are topics that are important, and so on. So women have to be part of this. Make sure women are equally represented across different functions. Yeah? And then also to understand as a woman that if you are the woman at the table, that does not mean other women cannot be part of the table. You can bring in more chairs, you can increase the size of the table, make sure other women will join. So whilst you are still there. Don't really perceive it as I believe that at any point when we have more women coming in, if another woman is succeeding, you are also succeeding, because it's helping our generation and the following generation. Another example is recruitment. So sometimes we don't really see women applying as much. This can depend on the channel that is being used. So maybe it's not really accessed by women. So maybe another approach. So we looked into this and we saw that also word of mouth and connections are very important for women. So we reached out, instead of just posting on LinkedIn or sending emails, we also reached out to our existing network to make sure whenever we have open positions, they provide references and women apply. And then of course, we still look at their qualifications, we shortlist those that are qualified, but always to try and make sure they are part of the interview process. And then they have an opportunity, yeah? So they are part of this. Sometimes it's more effort, but it's worth to put in that effort. When women are working, probably they require more flexible work conditions. Yeah, so, and I'm also comfortable with that. I work with a remote team, so I can't really supervise from 8 to 5, is everyone sitting at their desk? And of course, even the work that we do is very mobile. Is to be in the field, is to move around, is to interact with partner organizations in various locations. So also provide this flexibility once the results are coming in. Yeah? And life always happens. So if life happens, listen to what is the situation and what can be done. Yeah? And this really creates loyalty and trust within the team, and is a very important success factor for a team to achieve results. Then also, whenever possible, provide opportunities for leadership and growth. So in my career, I have supported women going for additional education programs, and I also try to kind of shield their back so they are able to do both, work and pursue that educational opportunity at the same time. Sometimes it's hard, but at the end of the day, it helps everyone, because now I can see some of them already advancing in their careers, and it makes me proud. Yeah, it's just amazing to see how they are professionally growing, how they are taking care of their families, how they are advancing in the career, and then of course spreading that impact in wherever they are going next. Yeah? One thing that is important is to advise up and down the hierarchy. So as a woman, as we are going up, there are always blind spots, especially I would say to the upper level. So also finding ways of bringing in the whole team and bringing in these various perspectives has always been very advantageous. And the feedback I get, so let's say, for example, we had a project midterm evaluation, the whole team was on board in different locations, I think across 6 different locations, and everyone was just amazed. Yeah, we are working as a team. Yeah? So women have their role, men have their role, but we are working together. Yeah? So bring in these different perspectives to also help the higher levels of management see what works and what impact is created. Because sometimes it seems that reports or even pictures cannot really translate what is really happening and how people are really benefiting from the activities. One personal story, how did I get here? Yeah? So it definitely, yeah, because I was given opportunities. Yeah? I have to be given the opportunity before I can show I'm able to do it, I'm able to succeed. Yeah? So the first step is not to preempt that someone cannot do it, but to be given the opportunity, to give that opportunity and then see a person excel. Yeah? So throughout my career, it was women and men supporting me, giving me that opportunity, having that confidence. And I hope it will continue like this. And I also try to create these opportunities for others. Yeah? Yeah, so there are many more things I can say about practical examples in meetings, having everyone contribute, making sure every contribution counts equally, yeah. Making sure the team is comfortable in raising points. Yeah? So you create that safe space. Everyone has something to contribute, and later on it will help you because some of the blind spots, you will already see them from the beginning. Yeah? So it helps you very much in planning out your project, in implementing, and then later on the evaluation. And also in the next few days, I will publish some of the lessons learned in my role and how to bring in women in a structured way. I will publish that article on LinkedIn, so you can also see it in a more concise way. And of course, please share and reach out for more, for more discussion on this. The last point is the personal advice. Here I'm coming down from the macro picture to the meso picture now to the micro, the personal picture. So that advice is from flying is put on your own oxygen mask first. Yeah? So there are these statistics of burnout, and there are these expectations as once you're given the opportunity, you have to outperform. Yeah? The expectations you set for yourself are so high. And this is good, yeah, it's good to, yeah, what a man can do, a woman can do better, but also don't wait until your battery runs to zero before you recharge. Yeah? You have to recharge before, you have to set boundaries in terms of time, in terms of communication, in terms of workload. Yeah? So delegation is important. It's also important that wherever you find yourself, you are intentional and composed. When you are at 0%, you are not anymore composed. Yeah? You will start to be emotional about things. If you attach yourself so much to work results, it can also have, whatever happens, you take it personally. And it can lead, you put yourself into a position where you don't really want to be. Yeah? So try and find ways of recharging. If you're always there for others, if everyone keeps plugging from you, you cannot thrive. Yeah? Just to give you a metaphor, so we have this plant in front of our house entrance. And it was there, it was nice, so on. But a few weeks ago, it just started falling apart. Yeah? The leaves were torn and so on. And it was because the children, the neighbors' children, and also the children in my house, they were plugging from it. They were cutting it with scissors, and so the plant was really looking miserable. And I spoke to them, I said, see, this plant wants to grow. So if you want to do anything for the plant, please water it. Yeah? But otherwise, just let it be. It will grow by itself. And within 2 weeks already, fresh leaves are growing and the plant is recovering. Yeah? So don't put yourself in a position where you are beyond the point of recovery. If everyone keeps on plugging from you, and at any point in time, 24/7, we know people are there who rely on us, but we are also just human. Yeah? And we also need time for ourselves. So, so allow yourself to thrive and to recharge. Yeah? And as you can see, communication to partner, to your family members at work is very important. And what I've also realized is even words have power. Yeah? So once you say it in a calm way, the other person listens. Yeah? You don't have to shout it. You don't have to wait for this point of explosion before you say it. Yeah? Say it before. And some take the advice, or some listen, and some do not listen, but at least you've said it. Yeah? So be communicative, be open in that process. Another point I want to make, be comfortable and happy in your body. So it's not only about the mind. has to be a balance of mind and body. And there are always lots of messages. In some places, the messages are one way. Let's say if you go to Europe, there are lots of messages about female bodies. I think here also the spectrum is wider, which I like. I like wider spectrum where you can be comfortable. So be comfortable within yourself. And we know these messages are now coming up. You know what, the way I look, I'm just comfortable. Oh, really? Yes, I am. With hair, without hair, short, long, whatever I do, I'm comfortable in my body. And this should be our message. Yeah? Be clear and light in your mind. So once you recharge yourself, once you have time, once you observe what is it that I need, to even be aware of your needs and at what point in time, and then to communicate them. So awareness is the first step, and then communication the second. And then also use this knowledge about yourself and others to negotiate your time and effort. Speak up for yourself. And when you have that energy, then you can also speak up for others. You know? Give yourself credit where it is due, but again, as I said, in a non-emotional way. So communicate calmly and clearly. Build your mental muscles and your physical muscles. So again, another example, when I had children, the first few years, I was so exhausted physically, really exhausted. And I wasn't physically strong. So I had to step up. Yeah? So I started running regularly, and every time is hard. Like this morning I went, I was tired, it was exhausting. Every time is hard, but I do it. Because now I'm able to keep up with my children. They are very active, they have a lot of energy. So their energy level was simply too much for me, but at least now I'm a little bit able to catch up with them. Yeah? And of course, they also see I'm trying. And it also helps me to release some of the stress and so on. So again, it's this balance of body and mind. Do good for your body, do good for your mind. Yeah? Okay, and then yes, even, you know, I never stop learning. I think continuous learning is very important. We always learn from others. I really like this kind of exchanges. So this year I've been very intentional also about building my mental health. So I started working with a coach, building my mental fitness, emotional self-control. And it's really nice to already see the progress. Yeah. So, and even to also be a role model, both again at work and at home. Yeah? So of course, we are all just human beings, but I'm so happy to see that we can always discover tools to really try and become and stay the person we want to be. Yeah? And of course, this way also to be happy the way we are. Yeah? Because we are really, everyone is on their own journeys. I'm on my own journey. So I always feel that things come at the right time when I'm also ready for that. Yeah, and to be confident in that process. Yeah. So just to summarize again, yeah. First of all, what is the goal? The goal is economic empowerment and equal representation for women. I truly believe society and everyone will benefit from this, because so many things can be done to create a truly, let's say, happy society and happy world for all of us, for this generation and for the coming generations. And it is through equal representation for all age groups and for men and women. How do we get there was the second message. As a team, it's a process. Yeah. So that's what it is. It's not something that just, oh, now we are here, we can sit back and relax. It's something that is an ongoing process. Look at the past 200 years, 100 years, where we are today. So it's an ongoing process. Yeah? And the third message, stay true to yourself, be your own best, yeah? Be your own role model, keep on learning, keep on moving, yeah? Love yourself best, because when you have that love for yourself, you are now able to love the people around you. Yeah? Be fearless. Yeah. Be cool also. When you love yourself, when you can also be more playful. Don't be so serious all the time. You know yourself, so now you can also play and be more light about what you want to achieve. Yeah. So I think these are the few messages I have for you. And I really look forward to more discussion, more interaction during this forum and then beyond that. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Daniela, for making this. This is super helpful. I've learned a lot, and there are a couple of questions already for you. One of the questions you have here is, Daniela, what was the greatest obstacle you faced working with women in Nigeria, and how did you overcome that obstacle? Please make it practical. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah. So I think there are two perspectives to this. One is women internally within my team, and the other aspect is working with women, for example, as clients of financial institutions or as staff of financial institutions or managers. So I take the first one first. I think I already hinted towards it, is to make sure women are represented at all levels within your team. Yeah. So this means within the technical team, within the management team, you have women who are part of all the decisions, of all the of all the exchanges, of the planning, and so on. And this is the first step. And of course, now how do you find these women? They should be qualified. I know there are lots of qualified women here in Nigeria, and not everyone is given the opportunity. One issue has been that is the first opportunity. So let's say after graduation, maybe the male candidate was preferred. So is from this first opportunity now the person builds up every other opportunity that follows. Yeah? So is to now find women who already have probably a first experience, yeah, but then also to try and create experiences from the very beginning for everyone. Yeah? And sometimes this takes more effort, but at the end of the day, it's just to have that intention in mind and do it. Yeah. So what you can see within our team here in Abuja, we have a mixed team. Yeah, it's almost 50-50. It's basically 50-50. Then we have a regional structure which has more men. I don't know why, but at that point, truly we were not able to find women. But we also had a short-term expert pool where we always try to get referrals for other women to come in. So as I said, we have trained, for example, more than 7,000 now, 7,000 both farmers and processors in 9 different states across the country. And in each location, in each state, we have mixed team, trainer team. So every time training is conducted, they go out as a team. And already this, just as the example that was mentioned by Crystal earlier about female narrators and male narrators, having a mixed team already brings in this kind of diversity. So you don't only have the standalone material, you have real people interacting. It's a learning process. So we talk about financial literacy, we talk about farm management, we talk about business management, we talk about saving, investing, taking a loan, what does it take? So in all of this, all these questions that are raised and all this content that is being shared, you have both the male and the female perspective as trainers. Yeah? So that's also very important. The other aspect is access to finance. Yeah? So here, of course, we don't work on policy level. We don't work with lawmakers and so on. That's not where this project is placed. So we work with what is there. Yeah? So what we found is that we don't really find many women among farmers. It's a fact. It's really because our own M&E, we have to, it's not only about training, it's about access to finance. So what we realized very quickly is we will not find enough women to get to our own target of 35% if we only look at farmers. But of course, the value chain is there. The agri value chain is there. So you have input suppliers, you have service providers, you have processors, you have aggregators. So there are a whole lot of other actors along this value chain. And I believe you also know that women are more found in small-scale processing. Yeah. So the value chains we work in: rice, maize, cassava, Irish potato. Irish potato is a little bit of an exception. We do find women among the farmers. They are more represented, that's fine. But let's say in rice and maize, women are just much more at the processing stage. So that's where we now started. Yeah, we did a value chain scoping to assess if those businesses are profitable. We also have a tool that we call business model analysis. What is it that they can afford? Yeah. So we started off with the working capital product. They are now accessing financing for working capital. I will share the link with you. It's now it's been uploaded on YouTube. I will share that short video clip with you, so you can look at it for Kano. So women processors are accessing finance to expand their business. And then the next step, of course, if they're running through a cycle and is successful and they are repaying, then they can qualify for higher loans. They will be able to qualify for equipment. They will be able to build their businesses gradually, acquire more machines. Yeah, and that's what it is. It's a process. So identify where you can find opportunities to bring women in, and then follow that path. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you so much, Daniela. Just to make a reference to what Daniela talked about when Crystal was making her intro, at PxD Nigeria, we conducted an AB gender test to see how smallholder farmers were receiving our advisory services and also using our advisory services. We found out that in the northern part of Nigeria, young women and married women were not comfortable staying on a call for long if the voice was a male narrator. This was very interesting to us because some religious, social, and cultural nuances make this the reality of some women. You are privileged to pick your call at any time of the day, speak to who you want to speak to, for how long you want to speak to, but some women cannot do this in some areas of Nigeria, and for very good reasons. In these areas, we decided to introduce the female gender narrator, where farmers could receive advisory services in Hausa language, but by a woman instead of a man. It would interest you to see the results of this study, where we were hitting over 98% listening rates and retention rates for our smallholder farmers. I think this is something precision agriculture for development has succeeded in. Listen to the smallholder, give the smallholder farmers what they want, and you have food security, sustainable livelihood, and better income opportunities. So this is a study Daniela and Crystal are referring to. I just thought it would be very good to give you the background of how this A/B test worked. If you check out the chat box, Daniela has been gracious enough to paste this YouTube link, which we can all click on after this call. Please resist the urge because it's a great video. I've seen this before. It's on Islamic finance for smallholder farmers and agri-based enterprise in rural Nigeria. One of the best I've seen. We also want to acknowledge the presence of the Deputy Director, Irrigation and Crop Production of the FDA FMARD. Hajiya, you're welcome. We'll be acknowledging you shortly. We'll be moving on to Lydia. Lydia is the gender specialist and inclusion expert at USAID Feed the Future project. Lydia is one of the most amazing women I've had to work with, and it would be really good to hear her speak to us today. Lydia, the floor is yours. Also want to acknowledge.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you.
afternoon. As she mentioned, as Uzoma mentioned, my name is Lydia Ameh, and I work with extension activity, and it's part of the Field the Future program in Nigeria. Over the years, I've worked as a gender specialist at various projects, and it has been quite interesting. And looking at it within the space of about 20 years now, a lot of learnings and a lot of insight to gender issue. And I'm glad that Daniela was able to speak so much about some of the gender-based constraints, drawing from access, control, issues around mobility, issues around workload, are some of the constraints that a typical Nigerian woman will always find. And for most programs or projects, they try to see how gender could be mainstream, a kind of having gender integrated into their work, to say that there's a kind of a reduction in the gap between the women, between the youth. And in doing that over the years, there are a lot of learnings for me, and I'm still learning, and which I've done some of the learnings from Ella as well. Now, looking at the gender constraints, it takes a gender skill to be able to, come to understand the fact that this is gender issue. Because often at times people find it very difficult to say, oh, this is gender issue, because you can't really differentiate it sometimes from the normal constraints. Like Ella mentioned, where she talked about maybe financial inclusion or exclusion, won't be able to think, oh, are men not excluded also? Are they not, left out? But what are we trying to say? We are trying to look at the gap between the men and the women. What are these gaps? What are the issues around it? Why is it that for over years, a lot of interventions are taking place, yet there's no improvement? So looking at it from that perspective, that calls for a need for gender awareness, not just at the community level, but gender awareness both at the program level. Why? At times, a lot of resistance comes. I'm glad that someone asked the question, what are the challenges? At times, the challenges are even within implementation. Colleagues not wanting to understand that these are gender issues, colleague not wanting to understand or to see reasons with you. And then at a point, it's like, oh, she's coming again. And here she's always talking about women, women, women. So a lot of challenges come around that. So colleagues need to understand that means there's a need for capacity building for colleagues in the office, of among your friends when you are working with them, and also sharing facts with them. Because at times, if you don't have this fact to back up, someone may be asking, we have 3 women, 4 women in so program, in so intervention. So the whole idea is that under my own program, which I've been doing over years, we have a specific a number of, should I say quote, a quota system kind of, where we'll be able to talk, oh, at least you must reach about 30% of women in all your implementation. And of course, some are things that are doable, some are difficult. So you have all those things coming in. And for me, of course, I have had colleagues that are cooperating and some are not cooperating as well. But the consistency in the message, the consistency around what they do, raising a kind of a flag at every point where you see that they are not really walking around what needs to be done. And don't be surprised, they are also kind of giving one name around, you are policing us too much. You understand, issues like that will always come in. But awareness, apart from verbal discussion, a formal training around gender, how it relates to their work, has been very useful for me. And not just that, having the management team to understand what you are doing. And I would tell myself that over the years has been very, very useful for me. I once on a project where it was like I wasn't getting anywhere. But at a point, I have a reason to be dialoguing with my boss to let them know that these are very useful when you come to gender mainstreaming. So dialoguing with your colleagues, dialoguing with the boss gives room where gender-related activities can be effectively supported. Because most often they look at it, oh, it's just one of these add-on activity that must be done because they need to report to donor agencies. Aside from the boss at the office setting, also having an action plan. And for instance, where I'm working currently, we have a gender action plan, which came as a result of gender analysis. The gender analysis was done across the 7 states where we work. And of the gender analysis, where are the windows of opportunities where intervention could be done? We are clearly stated, and that was presented to the team members to see where on their own implementation. Because as a gender person, it doesn't mean that one have to be at every point, you know, but they need to understand the skill. They need to know what they are doing so that at every point, there is that element of mainstreaming. That aside from the work at the office space. Now at the partner level, where one is implementing gender-related activity, awareness comes in there, capacity building comes in there, and even hand-holding them to do some of the activities is very, very relevant. In the sense that, like in the space where I'm working today, we are talking about private sector. And this private sector are organizations that are profit-driven. So most often it's like, why do I have to waste my time working with women? Like the issue of land, for instance, a mechanization aspect of our program that talks about, oh, there's a need for mechanization of the farmland. The tractor owners see women having just small piece of land, and why the men have larger land. So why would they go to men, to women, where they know that they will spend, you know, the whole of their day just doing piece of, you know, working on piece of land that is nothing really. Why wouldn't I go to the men that have large plot of land that if I spend the whole day, I know how much I'm being, you know, being paid for my labor. So that calls in for things maybe around mobilizing these women to have a joint land where they can really begin to work around it. Of course, our strategic gender-related action plan has some of these things which we are rolling out in terms of implementation. And one thing that is so glaring, and of one of the secrets I have over the years, and any program I go, I try to dialogue around that. I try to speak around that. Of course, there are lots of gender tools that can be used. A lot of gender tools that can bring out this gender message. A lot of gender tools that can make people to become sensitive to the need to reach out to women, to see that the gender gap, which Ella has narrated, could be covered up. And they are, it depends on context, but for this very one, which I've used over the years, and I think I've used it for more than 10 years, because the first program which I used it to was, had closed for more than 4 years, getting to 5 years now. And I happened to work in Bauchi. I introduced that. And under this program, it's called the Gender Action Learning System. The Gender Action Learning System can also be used as a research tool. It can be used as an assessment tool. And it's something that speaks to the community members in their own language. So it's more like using pictorials. So the community members sit around these two to discuss how they could address gender at the household level, understanding the fact that if the household level, if issues around household level is not being resolved, most often women may not even have opportunity to participate at the public space. So the Gender Action Learning System gives room where family begin to dialogue. and they begin to understand each other. And you see women who cannot even write, making plans using this tool, because it's Pretoria, making plans about their farms, making plans about their finances, and jointly as a family making use of that tool. And for the program that I'm working currently, we had reached, using the tool, we had used the tool to reach over 700 women and even household. Some business people are using it to a kind of scale their sales, like the agro dealers. So bringing this back into our discussion, there are a lot of things, learning point for me. One, women, if being supported, have a voice, and they are being empowered when the space, the right space is being created, when they are given the opportunity to, they also excel. One thing that is so critical over the years is that, like, in terms of having a good number of women in government-related activity and even to donor programs, there's a need for conscious or deliberately targeting women. If we don't do that, we can't really get them. Now, for individual who is interested in gender, it gives you, you also have to build your capacity. You have to build your knowledge, increase your knowledge around gender issue. You have to be up to your task and then see how you can begin to work with other team members to address issues. And not just the team members, the issue of partnership matters a lot. Partnership with other donor programs, partnership with government institution will go a long way to help. So with this, I think we hope to see more of your research, having more of being gender responsive, want to see more of your activities, targeting women in such a way that they can benefit, and we want to see that we have more of these young people coming up with a voice and be able to address gender issues at their workspace. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lydia. That was very informative. And of course, the question is right here for you. Lydia, please tell us your most challenging career experience. Please share with practical example. Thank you, Lydia.
Yeah, let me give the most recent one that happened just about last week. And I was sharing with one of my colleagues. It's when most often when gender is being seen as just a adult, activity. When I say adult, it's like when donor agencies are asking for results, they don't really look at your activity as being useful. I use that word, not being useful. As much as I would say we are mainstreaming gender, they are looking for the big things because the donor organization or the funders are asking for those big, big things. And they see you not contributing directly to that. Why? You are talking about, oh, are women involved? Oh, what's the number of women there? So for me, that's a big challenge ever since I've been a gender person. Of recent, I said maybe I should just switch from being a gender person, in the sense that it's not, nobody wants, some people may not want to really see your intervention as being so relevant or being a kind of a core activity which you need to do. Now I have, well, I will try to cut it short. I have a situation where we are asking for target, we are asking for outreach, we are asking for, and then I presented my activity and the question was, how can this increase outreach? So it was like, oh, of all what I've said, you mean you can't see how the outreach could be achieved? So things like that comes up. And then there are instances in the community where we work, even at the community level. When you mention the word gender, there's that, all these people who are out to break homes. Of course, it's something that means in working in the space of gender, you have to, we really have to think, how can I present my message in such a way that people don't take offense, they don't misinterpret what I'm saying, because what we are talking about is women empowerment. And when you look at, you are able to present the fact as, how do we get these women empowered? How do we reduce the gap between men and women for development? They begin to see reasons with you. So for me, that's another challenge. And at the household level, I don't have any baby. And over the years, I've been a widow. But again, there's also gap. When I have male children, because my sister children, relatives come around, and I try to say, see, you must enter the kitchen, you have to do this. Because if I'm a gender person, I also expect that practical aspect of it to begin to happen in my home. So just reducing it to workload at the home level. And I see my relatives or my son struggling. Oh, why won't somebody else do it? And who is that person? The only girl in the house should do everything. So these are some of the challenges, trying to preach what you say you are up to at the household level is quite challenging as well.
Thank you so much, Lydia. This is very practical to the question and the person that answered it. I think Lydia has done great justice to this question. I would really like to call on the Deputy Director at Irrigation and Crop Production at FDA, Hajiya Sugra Mahmood, to please speak with us. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Ogochukwu, thank you so much for inviting me. My name is Sugra Mahmood, and I'm the Deputy Director in charge of Irrigation Agriculture and Crop Development. It's a pleasure to be here. I was talking to your staff yesterday, John, when he came over to give me the letter of invitation, and I was asking him, what am I going to talk to them about? What is it you want me to talk about? He said, well, just share your experience. You're a woman in probably a male-dominated area, and how has it been, the journey so far? And, you know, in terms of work activities, how have you been able to impact the issue of gender equality? Now, yes, I am a woman in a male-dominated space. Lydia is one of my colleagues. I'm glad to see she's amongst us today. And there are certain drivers of gender inequality in agriculture. I'm going to talk about agriculture specifically, and I'm going to also talk about career as a woman, moving up the ladder, how difficult it has been or how easy, and what were the support systems that made it possible. Now, I don't know if I came in a bit late, sorry about that. I was attending another meeting. In fact, I have one other online meeting ongoing now that I had to shelve to be here. Now, as a woman in working just as a wife now, I'm married, of course, with kids, and the unpaid care work that you have to do takes a toll on your ability to be productive in the workspace. We all know that you have the duty of care is disproportionately on you as a woman. You are the first to get up and last to go to bed. You have to keep tabs. The man is putting up his feet on the, you know, and just waiting for his food to come and so on and so forth. You have the biological duty of giving birth to babies, carrying pregnancy and all of that. And you really need a serious support system to do that without failing or make the most of it, and also to be productive at the workplace. So it hasn't been easy. And so the gender power relations at home can make or break your career. So if you have a supportive husband that understands that your dreams are equally as important as his, then you make it to the top level. Then there's also the workplace, the dynamics in the workplace. Most of the time, women are looked at as just secondary to the male population in the workplace. And that also impacts on how you move up and how you impact even the duties that you are given to carry out in the office, how seriously they are being taken. I have worked with on the schedule of women and youth empowerment for some years. I'm no more there, obviously, but while we were there, we were able to get a budget line specifically for women and also get a budget line specifically for young people, because apart from gender issues, there's also the intergenerational thing where young people are not participating as much as they should in agriculture. And we're being left with an aging farming population. So we're trying to address many things. And then Okonjo Iweala, who is now at WTO, was the finance minister, and she did she threw out something in the open there for the minister. She said any ministry that was able to work on empowering women, she's going to give them an additional budget allocation of 3 billion. Well, it was easy for agriculture because we already had a women's in agriculture desk. So, and there was also, after I think one of the CSW meetings, Commission on the Status of Women, it was agreed that for gender issues to be mainstreamed, we needed to have focal points in each ministry. So Women Affairs was, I think, gave out officers, and a cadre was created in the civil service for gender officers. And within our own ministry, we now created gender desk officers in each department to be able to mainstream gender into agriculture, into our institutional culture, into our policy, into our programming, and so on. Moving on, we also, from there, we now got the budget line for gender, one for women, one for young people, all in an effort, to make sure that the disparity in the agricultural sector begins to narrow. Moving on, we also are able to get quite a substantial sum out of that 3 billion naira that the Minister of Finance then put out for agriculture. And it's been gender mainstreaming. We made so much noise about it. We have our gender officer. She was everywhere, all over the place, making noise about gender, creating awareness, conducting capacity building for different categories of staff so that they know what it is about, the importance of mainstreaming gender in your work, and do everything with a gender preoccupation at the back of your mind. Otherwise, it cannot be an add-on. It has to be an integral part of what you're doing from day to day. And that was how we kept going on and so forth. And now I'm really happy to say that in agriculture, when you come now, gender is not a strange word to mention. And like I said, we have budget lines to show that indeed we are towing the line of trying to narrow the gender disparity in the agricultural sector. And this is very important because women participate at a very pivotal level in agricultural space. And then they also have the advantage of being the what do you call it now? The nutrition expert in the house. Because everything you're talking about, when you're talking about your sustainable goals, about food security, food and nutrition security, you cannot talk about food security without nutrition security. And women are strategically placed to impact on most of these issues, such that if you empower them, you're actually going to get it right. Now, I was reading something earlier that says if you empower the female population in the agri space, you're going to gain about 2 $2.3 billion for the agricultural sector in Nigeria. If you talk about the other areas that it spills over to, you're talking 8 billion just for by increasing their access to reproductive resources. Because right now there is a gap. For female managed plots, you get far less output than you get from male. There is a gender norms that says some crops are male crops, some crops are female crops. This also disempowers the women because it means they don't make enough for all the effort that they put in. And when you get them to make money, they spend more on the household. That means you're impacting education, you're impacting health, you're impacting so many other things at the household level that you don't get the benefit from when it is a man that is making the money. So these are some of the things we're looking at, the drivers of inequality in the agri sector. There's also another one that actually holds back the women in agriculture, and this is education. Because your ability to engage positively and maximally with every sector of the economy boils down to education. And we all know that in Nigeria, traditionally, it's, well, she's going to get married. No, I'm not going to spend money on her because she's going to end up in somebody else's household. So whatever productivity she's got is going to go to another family, not mine. So let me concentrate on the boys and leave the women, give them the barest minimum, which is not okay. We've seen it. At the end of the day, the females actually do better, give back to society, whether it is in their own family, original household, or in their husband's families. They give back more if they are empowered. So these are some of the things. And I also talked about, of course, the time paucity, which is occasioned by our unpaid care work. Now, at the economic accounting level, at the national accounting level, there has to be a way that you can quantify the amount of work that women put in at the household level to be able to get, whether it is your GDP or whatever, because that is money not spent, but you can cost it and let it be reflected so that our work will not be unseen and unrewarded, because that is what we were virtually invisible. Meanwhile, women enable the workforce in every economy, Nigeria not excluded. So if the amount of work we put in at the household level is not recognized at the national accounting level, then we're invisible. And that means our issues will continue to be looked at as insignificant. So our level of gender mainstreaming, while we're doing it at sectoral level, needs to also be carried at that level to be able to bring out what the kind of contribution women make in the socio-economic development of each nation, and Nigeria being in particular. Now, there's also the issue of productive labor. For agriculture, you have three sources of labor: your own effort, that of the one that you get from hired help. I can't remember the other one now, but the women are unable to engage productively and get the maximum out of the labor that they invest. First of all, if you're in a household, it's a farming family, you give your labor for free to your husband first. Any other thing that when the little time that you have remaining, you do it for your own plot. That puts you at a disadvantage and your work there is not rewarded. Then you look at when you need to hire labor, you don't have enough resources in terms of cash to do it. That means you cannot get the productive labor that you need to be able to make that output that will give you the income that men are getting. Then when you talk about buying equipment, also because you are resource poor as a woman, you are not able to access the kind of labor saving devices and efficient that will bring efficiency to your operation and reduce and improve your labor productivity. So these are some of the drivers that keep the disparity in the agri sector ongoing, as the case may be. Now, as a ministry, I can talk about a few things that we've done. I've mentioned the lines, but we have said that everything that every department or every program or project is doing must meet the 35% affirmative action at the very least. That means if you're going to give equipment for free or for as a subsidy, 35% of that should go to women. But there's another challenge that is on the supply side. But what about the demand side? Are women actually demanding for those inputs? That is another challenge that we need to address. Effective demand from women. And I can give you an example. We were trying to do a youth program for people to express interest. And it was very difficult for us to get 30% of female youth to apply for that program. We eventually had to do positive discrimination to make sure that once we hit 70%, we don't admit any. It is like how the programs. We're doing a capacity building program for the ministry staff. And sometimes you find it difficult to get that 35% inclusion of female staff to be among those that will be trained. Because when you look at the number of staff you have, you may not even have enough female staff to respond or to be selected or nominated for that training. So at different levels, at the governance level, we need to up our game to make sure that enough women are getting into the sector and getting into leadership positions or whatever down the hierarchy. At the farmer level, we need to create awareness, and then I'm sorry to digress. Another thing is agriculture is on the concurrent list, which means it's not just federal government. The other subnationals, the states and the local government need to also up their game in terms of mainstreaming gender to be able to narrow down that inequality so that we can have a sustainable development and an inclusive one moving forward. Now, a lot of the states don't have gender policies, let alone gender policy in agriculture. Some of them don't have agricultural policy, let alone talking about gender in agriculture. So these are some of the things that we have to keep working on. A lot of you are working in development. Perhaps you can intervene and support some of the states to be able to do that so that at the subnational level, we can get that story going and narrative changing at that level. It also will bring about the issue of responsive budgeting that speaks to gender issues. If at the federal level we're doing that and at the state level nothing is happening, nothing is going to change. It will be like a drop in an ocean because agriculture happens at the state level. The citizens are theirs, the land is theirs. So whatever we're talking about gender will not be complete without the subnationals keying in and keying in fully and rising up to the occasion to do that. So one of the things we could do is, of course, awareness creation, like Lydia has said, capacity building for people to understand the cost of not empowering women to participate in every sector, not just agriculture, and the kind of gains we'll make if we're able to do that. So I think I'll stop there and let Ogochukwu take over to you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Hajiya. She's my favorite deputy director, by the way. So this is helpful. Hearing it from this perspective, but there's one question that seems to resonate here, and it is, Deputy Director Ma, what is the greatest challenge that you have faced at FMAD, and how did you overcome this challenge? Please make your answer expansive with practical examples. Thank you.
Okay, that I have to think a little. Okay, one of the challenges, I'm going to narrow it to the gender issue, is being a woman and to be taken seriously. You have to work doubly hard to prove a point. When a man has an easygoing whatever, but you have to make it, put in more, much more than is required to be able to be taken seriously. And then when you're on a schedule that is talking about women, it becomes even more difficult. I'll give you an example. I tried to get a database going for women entrepreneurs, young people entrepreneurs in agriculture. And every time the prioritization does not happen. And you know that without data, whatever you're planning is at best a guesstimate. Because data gives you an evidence-based reason to make an intervention in a particular area. And to be taken seriously, you need to back up whatever argument you have with data. So you can imagine my difficulty. For 5 years, I tried. Every year, like the Igbos among us will understand chinchi. Like chinchi, I will put that item of activity in our budget. And every year, something else will take priority. So these are some of the things to be taken seriously in a male-dominated space is very hard. So you have to make yourself relevant through knowledge. You have to know your onions very well, and you have to engage in self-development on a regular basis to be able to keep up, with the rat race. I think I will stop it there. Over to you, Ogochukwu.
Thank you so much, Hajiya. This is very helpful. Thank you for taking your time to speak with us. I'll be introducing Hajiya Kareemah Imam. Her NGO is LHF Lighthouse Foundation, and she's the CEO. Hajiya Kareemah Imam, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me to this excellent platform, which I think is very necessary. And unfortunately, I'm not in the country, so I cannot turn on my video because I don't have a good network. So I hope it's okay if I leave my video off, please.
Yes, it's okay, Hajiya.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the speaker, Ms. Sugra Mahmood. That was really an excellent, those were excellent points that you made. And I'm very, very passionate about agriculture, especially in the northern part of the country. I'm from Kano, and as you probably know, there are probably less than 1% of women that involved in farming. So I agree with you 100% on the need for us to encourage more women to enter this, to enter the agricultural sector in Kano for all the reasons that you mentioned. So just a little background on LHF, Lighthouse Foundation. We're a tiny nonprofit charitable organization established in 2015. And we've been working with Global One, London. They're based in the UK. They wanted to work in Nigeria, so we partnered with them, focusing 100% in Kano and on farming and agriculture, because we saw the need there for there to be an increased production and output from the farmers, both men and women. So originally the plan was to actually involve women, because Global One UK had done a similar project in Kenya with women, and it was excellent and had so many beneficial effects and impact. Like Hajiya Sugra said, it made a great, huge impact on the families because they were women, so education was increased and health was increased and all of that stuff. So we wanted to replicate this in Kano. Unfortunately, though, we faced a huge challenge. There was virtually hardly any community who were willing to, well, the men were not willing to even allow the women to be involved in the project, because they said farming is for men. In the community where we actually got a few of the women to be interested in farming and the men to let them, they didn't know any. We would have to educate them from the scratch. So what we did was we developed another program hand in hand with the farming, organic farming project. So we focused on, with the women, we focused on helping them with livestock breeding, in particular goat breeding. And we taught them, accounting and how to take care of the goats so they can actually give birth, and then they can sell the goats and make money from that. So that was an option that we had to go through because of the lack of interest and lack of resources for the women to be involved in the actual farming, like farming. So I was really excited when I heard you talking, and one of my questions is, as an NGO like Lighthouse Foundation, how do you think we can facilitate the involvement of women in agriculture? Apart from the livestock farming that we did, we would love to actually also be involved in encouraging women and girls in actually taking part in farming.
Thank you so much, Hajiya. Just checking in that Hajiya Sugra Mahmood is still here. If she would like to respond to that question, then I can just speak. Yes, please.
Sorry, I missed out the question.
Yes.
Can you repeat it? Then I will see if I can have a go at it. Yeah, thank you.
Hajiya Kareemah, please repeat your question.
Okay, so I was asking, as an NGO, how can we facilitate the involvement of the women in agriculture?
First of all, as an NGO, you need to write to the Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, introducing your NGO and areas you're focusing on, the thematic area you're focusing on. And we also have a desk that's called Gender and Youth Desk, which is in Extension Department that deals with issues of women's participation specifically. Then the other line directorates, which is Federal Department of Agriculture. We have a lot of the crop value chains under us. We're in charge of the crop division and subsector of the agri sector. And we have value chains, so it depends on where you're participating in. Then we have Animal Husbandry Department, which also is taking care of everything livestock. We also have fisheries department, which takes care of the blue economy of our nation, the aquaculture, the fisher folk, and so on and so forth. We have another department that's called the cooperative department, which is actually talking about registering apex bodies of cooperatives in Nigeria and promoting cooperative activities. So really, it's up to you areas you want to you're focusing on as an NGO. So in that way, but the main desk that is dealing with women specifically and exclusively is an extension department. So if you want, you can send your letter open-ended, or you can send it specific to a department that you want to engage with. Then we will now explore areas of collaboration and see how it goes from there. All right.
Thank you so much, Hajiya Sugra. And Hajiya Kareemah, I'll be following up with you.
Yeah, sorry, there's also agribusiness department.
Thanks. Okay.
Yeah. So we have all different departments that you can engage with, and also veterinary.
Thank you so much, Hajiya. This is very helpful, and I will follow up with Kareemah after this call to make that happen. Thank you so much to everyone that made it to this call today. Happy International Women's Day to all of us, to the men in the room, to the mothers of these men, sisters, significant others. Thank you so much for making it out here today. Precision agriculture is still working hard in Nigeria to serve us all with robust research, but more importantly, to bridge the digital divide that smallholder farmers face in Nigeria today. We're thankful to great women, that Deputy Director Sugra Mahmood, to more women and men in this sector. We say a big thank you to our impressive staff at PxD Nigeria. Thank you so much for your work. To Nick, our photographer, designer, Jonathan, every single person that has made this great today, Carol and Winnie for hosting and perfecting this event. Thank you so much. PxD Nigeria says thank you to everyone. Thank you.